Hi, I'm Zoe from Phoenix Life and Wellbeing Coaching. Today, talking about unplugging. How many hours are you spending plugged into devices each day? Zoom, Teams, email, social media, Netflix, Kindles, the list just goes on and on and on. And the question is how mindful you are of the amount of screen time that you have. We do this with our children, or our parents do this when we were children, but when we get to adults, we don't take that same advice in restricting our time on screens and making sure that we have time in our day away from being on the screen. The boundaries between being online and offline have become blurred with the impacts since COVID-19 and the significant increase in using devices to be able to communicate and being able to work and hybrid working. Technology has evolved. It's evolved really, really quickly. In fact, it's evolving quicker than a lot of us are being able to keep up with. And it has enabled us to be able to work in a different way and be able to work online and from homes. And social media messaging apps have enabled us to be able to keep in touch. But whilst the way that we are interacting has changed, the fatigue of being online is very real, and we need to be able to protect that. So the question for you to consider as you watch this video is to think about how you are using those devices and whether you are using those devices in a way that is still in balance and a healthy way for you, or whether it's being overdone and that you want to reduce that a little bit to help to bring that into balance. Whenever we are online and we're scrolling, even when we're mindlessly scrolling, we're taking in that information, whether we are aware of it and taking notice of it or not. We are taking that information in, and wrapped up in that information, we have that real mix of misinformation and disinformation. There's pressure on platforms to fact check and remove articles that are fake or perhaps not entirely true. We have a responsibility to fact check and be more conscious of the information that we are engaging in and absorbing. Media appeals to an emotional response. It's quite often fear and panic based, and clickbait headlines and dramatic storylines. That's what is out there. The information is produced and released in a way to get us to stop scrolling and view what has been posted. And we don't have to be present at a location to be impacted and affected by what we see online. Very rarely do you get a trigger warning, although they are on the increase. Very rarely do you get given a trigger warning before you view the things that are on your timeline. And that has an impact on us. It's a very real response when we see these things online. As humans, we have a negativity bias, which means we are more likely to tune in to negative content first. And our fight, flight, freeze survival instinct is what makes us look for risk, because it wants us to keep us safe. But it means the more we see, the more we feel those reactions. And when we're online, our brain doesn't differentiate between what we're seeing and being in a safe space. The emotions that are triggered and the emotions that we have in response to what we see is very, very real. And the impact physically, emotionally, and mentally is also very real. We need to be mindful of what we consume online, and it's important for us to safeguard our own headspace, protect the safe space that we are in. And when we're at home, it feels like we're in a safe space, but what we allow into our headspace can impact that. And so we need to be very mindful of what we allow into our spaces through our devices. We scroll so quickly through content and platforms that often we don't take time to analyze and interpret the information we're absorbing, so we can feel powerless to the information that we're seeing and taking in. When we detach ourselves from our devices and we're more mindful about what we're plugging ourselves into, this can make a big difference to our mental and emotional health. So here's 5 things for you to consider. What's draining your battery? So not your device battery, your mental and physical battery. What's draining your energy? Things will drain your battery and energy a lot quicker. Some things more so than others. In the same way that you can have apps on your phone that drain the battery really quickly, there will be certain things that drain your battery a lot quicker than others. Our energy levels work in that similar way to our devices. So you need to pay attention and be mindful when you're on different apps, on different platforms, what that does to your energy. Does it drain or does it energize? Are you finding things that you're seeing things that are positive and motivational and inspiring, or are you seeing things that are negative and draining? Think about what you're following, what you're looking at, how much time you're spending. And that's the second point. Time lost or time gained. Time lost is when we're mindlessly scrolling, when we're not really taking in the information. It's just that mindless action of scrolling through devices. And how much time are you losing doing that? And what could you be doing instead? Most of us would like a few more hours in the day. And so we have to really question how much time we're losing through mindless scrolling. There are a number of apps, whether you're on iOS or Android, and desktops, which monitor screen time. And individual apps will have monitor built-in ways to be able to give you a notification of how long you've been scrolling, or shut down the app when you've reached your limit. Use those functionalities to help you to control the amount of time you're on devices. Think about the purpose. Is this a habit? Are you picking your device up to look for something specific, or are you picking your device up because you finished an activity, or because you've picked up a drink, or you've sat down in the chair? A lot of us are picking our phones up at certain times as part of our routine and habit, and not necessarily for a particular reason. It's just because. Think about how you can break that pattern. Put your device in a different place, even in a different room, putting it into airplane mode so that it doesn't draw your attention. But look at how you can create a positive habit. Think about what you want to replace it with. So if you're trying to reduce the amount of time that you're spending on a certain app, then it might be that you delete the app so that you have to go in through the browser, or maybe you put it in a different folder, or you move things around so that you have to think about it more before you take that action. Think about how you feel. Do you feel informed, inspired, or motivated when you've spent some time scrolling, or you've spent time on an app? How do you feel? How do you feel when you're on it? How do you feel when you leave it? Do you feel positive, or do you feel drained and negative? Have a spring clean. Clean out the negativity. Be mindful of quality over quantity, and be mindful of where your time and energy is going. It's a valuable resource. You need to use it wisely. Switch on the smart bit of your phone. There's great functionality there. It's improving all the time. Wellbeing functionality is a big part of devices now. So use those devices in a way that works for you, that helps support you to have the habits that you want. You can use the night lights, you can use filters, you can use the do not disturb, you can switch them off, you can switch them to airplane mode, you can switch the notifications off so that you're picking up the device when it's convenient for you, rather than a notification drawing your attention to it. You can mute certain words or hashtags or accounts, especially ones that are a high risk or triggering for you. Feel free to mute them or unfollow them. If it's not helpful, if it's not healthy, then you can remove it. The do not disturb is a great way to control when your phone can interrupt you, and use the airplane mode. Ignorance is bliss. If you can't see it, then it doesn't draw your attention in, and you can check it when it's convenient. It doesn't have to be a smart device if you make smart choices. So in the same way that you're using your devices, are you using your devices to help you to get where you want to be? Lots there to think about, lots of hints, tips and advice to help you. If you are feeling disconnected from life and you would like to have a chat, feel free to get in touch. I would love to hear from you, and I would love to have a chat to see how coaching might be able to support you.